The 2026 regs could bring an unlikely alliance with McLaren and Red Bull. Toyota has set its sights on joining F1, and Mercedes reveals the upgrades that have brought them closer to the top. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get straight into the latest F1 news. McLaren has inquired with Red Bull about a potential engine partnership. McLaren CEO Zak Brown confirmed a visit to Milton Keynes in Silverstone. The reason is the engine situation with Mercedes. The Formula One regulations from the 2026 season are already casting their shadows. In the paddock, there is concern among some teams that they may not be well prepared for the start of the new era of engines. The electric power in the drivetrains is increasing massively. It rises from 120 kW 163 HP to 350 kW 476 HP. In other words, it is an increase of 300% compared to the previous e-power. All manufacturers are under pressure. It is crucial to be able to recharge the battery quickly and cool it sufficiently without making too many compromises on the chassis side. Mercedes is one of the 6 manufacturers working feverishly on its drivetrain for 2026. Experts believe that the engineers in Brixworth, after their dominance in the first hybrid era, are once again capable of achieving a major breakthrough. However, the customer teams of Mercedes are skeptical. This is due to the surprising idea of Alpine consultant Flavio Briatore to source a power unit from a competitor starting in 2026. Alpine is thus supposed to negotiate with Mercedes. Ultimately, Mercedes is losing a customer with Aston Martin. Starting in 2026, the team owned by Lawrence Stroll will have Honda power in the rear. McLaren and Williams fear that Mercedes could face reliability issues by supplying 3 racing teams. The flirtation between Alpine and Mercedes bothers them. Both traditional teams have long-term contracts with Mercedes. The contract with Williams runs until 2031. Team principal James Vowles hinted in Silverstone that he is against another Mercedes customer. We've been working on the right concept for our car for a long time, in consultation with Mercedes. He cautioned Alpine. No matter what you do, you will be at least 6 to 12 months behind in development. While Vowles issues a warning, the political tactic at McLaren is different. Despite extending the contract with Mercedes until 2030 just last year, Zak Brown is still open to speaking with another manufacturer. The McLaren CEO reached out to Red Bull and Ford. For the first time in its F1 history, the energy drink team is developing its own engine for 2026. Ford is providing technical support to Red Bull. The infrastructure for this ambitious project is in place. Red Bull managed to attract some top engineers from Mercedes to Milton Keynes. This had also piqued McLaren's interest. Zak Brown confirmed in Silverstone that he had already visited Red Bull's engine factory. I have a great relationship with Jim Farley. We met last year and then visited the factory. That was before we decided to extend with Mercedes. As can be heard, the visit did not stop there. Brown is said to have been regularly seeking contact with Red Bull in recent times regarding a possible engine partnership. The American was aware of the delicate circumstances, however. With a smile, he added, I do not think I would like to be seen there at the moment. Brown was referring to the Spielberg crash between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Subsequently, poisoned arrows flew between Red Bull and McLaren. There was some surprise from the world champion team's camp about the timing of the engine inquiry. While Lando Norris tried to smooth things over with Max Verstappen in Silverstone, his boss was still pushing the issue. We want to win races, but not at any cost. That does not suit us. Brown took another dig at Red Bull. The tense relationship between the two teams is unlikely to cool down quickly. McLaren and Red Bull currently have the best cars on the grid. The duel for the Constructors' Championship is heating up. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff said they like the thought of replacing Aston Martin in an update on power unit supply talks with Alpine. Alpine currently enjoy works team status in Formula One via their exclusive use of the Renault power unit. But with the new generation of PUs on the way for F1 2026, could that situation be about to change? Rumor had it that Alpine were considering moving away from the Renault PU and becoming a customer team, Wolff confirming at the British Grand Prix that exploratory discussions have been held with the French manufacturer on this subject. With current Mercedes customer Aston Martin switching allegiances to Honda from F1 2026, that could open the door for an Alpine alliance with Wolff confirming that they like the thought of bringing another customer on board for the new regulatory era. And this open-minded approach from Mercedes has been communicated to Alpine. Asked by media including PlanetF1.com whether talks with Alpine had taken place and how long a deal could take to reach, Wolff replied, I think that's a complicated situation because we like the thought of, replacing Aston Martin with another team because of the sheer learning you're doing. I think we're set up as an organization that the more power units, the better it is in terms of accelerating some of the developments or the reliability. So this is where it is. I think it didn't go beyond the point of exchanging opinions or having exploratory discussions. I think Alpine would take a decision. Do they want to continue with their Formula One engine program or not? And only when they have taken that strategic decision, we would dive into our agreements. But we're open-minded, and that's what we have told them. With this new era of Formula One now only a year and a half away, the clock is ticking for Alpine to decide what path they wish to take. Wolff was therefore asked whether he saw a resolution by the F1 2024 summer break being possible. No, that's far too complicated and long-lasting, impactful decision for Alpine to make, he replied. Alpine sit P8 in the current F1 2024 Constructors' Championship standings with 9 points on the board. According to several prominent F1 publications, Toyota could be eyeing a way back into F1 through a partnership with the Haas team. Toyota left F1 behind at the conclusion of the F1 2009 season, but rumors suggest the Japanese manufacturer is keen on a return to the sport and has already begun conversations with the Haas team about a collaboration. According to prominent F1 publications, Formula.hu and RacingNews365.com, Toyota has been in touch with Haas about a potential partnership. RN365 suggests a sponsorship deal, similar to Alfa Romeo Sauber, is being sought, while Formula.hu reports that the two sides could start working together next season ahead of the 2026 regulations change. The Hungarian publication also states Toyota could partner with Haas in the manufacturing of car chassis components along with Dallara, with a possible partnership budding between the American team and the Japanese manufacturer involving the use of Toyota's wind tunnel in Cologne. Haas declined to comment on the speculation. Further suggestions from Formula.hu claim Toyota also plans on sponsoring other F1 teams and perhaps could seek to build their own engine in the future. A Toyota return would pit them against domestic market rival Honda, which has dominated F1's power unit war since winning its first title with Red Bull in 2021, along with every title throughout the ongoing engine freeze. From 2026, the regulations transform for a new engine formula, with Honda officially returning as an active manufacturer to supply the Aston Martin team. With Haas prospects on the rise with the American squad having its most competitive season in years, the rumors about Toyota emerged shortly after McLaren's use of Toyota's wind tunnel in Cologne came to an end. McLaren ended its long-running deal with Toyota last season, having shifted over to its own new facility in Woking. Signing Toyota factory driver Ryo Hirakawa to its roster of reserve drivers for 2024, including some testing of a previous car, it appeared to be part of a concerted effort from Toyota to increase its foothold within F1. Toyota chairman Akio Toyoda attended the 2023 Japanese Grand Prix as part of a delegation from Toyota, but Toyota Gazoo Racing Europe vice chairman Kazuki Nakajima downplayed the significance of Toyota's attendance at the race as merely being supportive of Hirakawa's signing to McLaren. At the moment, it's a clear no, he said at the time. This is just about giving a driver the opportunity to get his foot in the F1 door. But of course, you can think about anything, and there are plenty of rumors. Who knows what the future holds? Winning the British Grand Prix on merit, Robert Dornbos believes Mercedes have found the sweet spot with W15, and that will make all the difference to their season. Although Sunday's victory at the Silverstone circuit wasn't Mercedes' first of the season, that honor having gone to George Russell 1 week earlier in Austria, it was the first win based purely on pace. While in Austria, Russell benefited from Max Verstappen and Lando Norris's lap 64 clash, at Silverstone it was the full Mercedes package, car, strategy, and driver, that clinched the win. Lewis Hamilton took the checkered flag 1.4s ahead of Max Verstappen to bag his first Grand Prix victory in 945 days. Mercedes Motorsport boss Toto Wolff dubbed it an honest win based on real pace. And it could, Dornbos believes, be the turning point in the Brackley squad's season. It took a while at Mercedes, but they still have the people in-house who can do it, Dornbos told Motorsport.com of the team's progress. You also get drunk from lots of small sips. They took a lot of small steps, and at a certain point found the sweet spot of the car. Then you suddenly gain 0.3, just like McLaren, which can make all the difference in the current season. Wolff singled out Mercedes technical director James Allison as being the one who led the team to that moment, when suddenly the data made sense. The former F1 driver applauded a resolute Hamilton, who fought through many thoughts and doubts to win at Silverstone. The victory was his 9th at the Northamptonshire track, a new F1 record for the most wins at a single circuit, and his 150th podium for Mercedes. Lewis has also had his fair share of eschai thrown at him, Dornbos said. After deciding to leave Mercedes last winter, he naturally hoped to end his time with the team on a high note. You don't have complete control over that. But by winning his home race for the 9th time, and setting a new record for the number of victories in the same Grand Prix, he has now provided that great ending. It doesn't get any better than this. Ralf Schumacher says Hamilton has silenced his detractors as he is clearly back. There have been voices saying that his time may have run out, that he is getting too old, that Ferrari may be annoyed about their decision, he told Sky Deutschland. But now everything is back to square one. Hamilton is back. Stories like this are the beauty of motorsport and Formula One. Mercedes have outscored their rivals in the 5 races since the introduction of Flexi Front Wing, the Brackley squad bringing in 142 points, but they remain P4 in the Constructors' Championship. Mick Schumacher did well in last week's Alpine test, but whether that's enough to pip the longer than 3 names list for the 2025 race seats remains to be seen. Alpine have one half of their 2025 driver lineup decided after Pierre Gasly put pen to paper on a new multi-year extension, but his teammate has yet to be revealed. Last month, Alpine announced they'd agreed, by mutual decision, to part ways with Esteban Ocon after 5 seasons and 1 race victory with the Frenchman reportedly off to Haas. As for who will replace him, that list was thought to be down to 3 drivers after Gasly called Mick Schumacher, Jack Doohan, and Carlos Sainz 3 great options. Sainz is Gasly's preferred option for his 2025 teammate, as he admitted the Ferrari driver has the added value of having a lot of experience and also experiencing strong teams. But, he added, Alpine reserve driver Doohan and WEC driver Schumacher are both very talented, very fast, they both already included in the team, they know the guys. They, he added, fit very well. The 2 hopefuls, who have both made it known they'd like to be the one to replace Ocon, took part in a test in the A524 at Le Castellet and impressed team boss Famin. The test went well for both drivers, we have to be honest about that, Famin told Sky Deutschland. They both had a similar program and they did well, that's great for both of them. He, however, refuted Gasly's claim Doohan and Schumacher were the only 2 drivers on the list of potential candidates alongside Sainz. They are both on our list, but that list is still quite long, he said. Longer than 3 names. Although no details of Doohan and Schumacher's day on the track were revealed, Bild reports it was difficult to evaluate, given the contrasting track temperatures between Schumacher's morning run and Doohan's afternoon outing. There's also the fact that the Australian reserve driver has more experience in the Alpine F1 cars than his German rival. It is therefore unclear how meaningful the times are, claimed the publication. But what Bild was clear on is that this is Schumacher's last chance to return to the Formula One grid, and it mainly depends on Sainz's decision. If the ousted Ferrari driver wants the Alpine, then it is his. But if he opts for Williams or Audi, then Schumacher could be back in the sport. But Alpine are the 25-year-old's only option. As Gasly put it, someone is going to be disappointed. I think it's quite clear at the minute you've got more drivers and you've got seats available, so some guys are going to stay on the sideline, he told the media at Silverstone. Toto Wolff says it wasn't a miracle front wing that resurrected Mercedes' form, but rather a moment led by technical director James Allison, where suddenly the data made sense. After 2 years of toil with F1's ground-effect aerodynamic cars, Mercedes have hit a purple patch with 2 wins on the bounce in Austria and Silverstone. But the recovery notably began back at the Monaco Grand Prix. Putting a new flexi front wing on the W15, the design was heralded as a eureka moment for the former world champions, who in the 4 races after Monte Carlo recorded a run of podium results, including back-to-back wins in Austria and Silverstone. Wolff, though, insists the much-talked-about magic front wing is not the secret behind Mercedes' return to form. Rather, he credits that to a moment from technical director Allison where suddenly everything clicked. There was a moment where, led by James, suddenly the data made sense, and the gap, he told the media at Silverstone. Mainly the way we balanced the car and how we could bring it in a better sweet spot. That was the main thing. It wasn't a miracle front wing, it is more the balance that we achieved. Allison returned to his former role as Mercedes technical director in August 2023 as part of a leadership reshuffle, replacing Mike Elliott, who has since left the team. Scoring 142 points in the 5 races since George Russell ran the new wing in Monaco, Mercedes have outscored every team on the grid, including Red Bull. They, however, remain 4th in the Constructors' Championship, where they are 74 points down on 3rd-placed McLaren. It clicked, Wolff added. Suddenly everything that didn't make sense made sense. The development direction, or the results of the development direction, are like back in the old days. We are finding performance, we are putting it on the car, and it translates into lap time. That wasn't the case for the last 2 years. There's more to come in terms of performance we're bringing. We're bringing bits to Budapest and Spa. But on the other side, we mustn't get carried away. We had a win last week benefiting from the entangling, but today, we have an honest win. We had the real pace. Carlos Sainz Jr. is somehow both the hottest free agent on the Formula One driver market for the 2025 season and the driver no team seems able to touch. Rumors have swirled about where the Spanish racer will end up, but Martin Brundle is quite confident he won't end up at Red Bull. Instead, he has suggested Liam Lawson should bypass the junior team and head straight for the top. Speaking on the latest episode of the Sky F1 podcast, Martin Brundle weighed in on what could theoretically transpire if Sergio Perez loses his Red Bull racing seat, and he's not confident the Milton Keynes team would turn to Sainz. Brundle identified one key factor that makes it challenging to race alongside Max Verstappen. The Dutch driver is absurdly fast. The trouble is, for a young driver, Verstappen just breaks their head because he's so fast and he can handle a car that's a little bit lively in a high-speed corner, Brundle said. Time and again, we've seen Verstappen's teammates falter where the Dutch driver succeeds. That is largely because Red Bull has designed its cars with Verstappen's input in mind. Writing for the Players' Tribune, Alex Albon actually elaborated on that concept further, saying that Max has a very distinct style of driving, and he likes the car set up a certain way that's hard for a lot of drivers to sync up with. Of course, you can tinker and tweak your own car, but just the Red Bull in general is suited to Max's style. Verstappen, Albon writes, prefers high front-end sensitivity, but that makes the car so sensitive that other drivers have been unable to handle it. That being said, Brundle feels that Liam Lawson has the talent to cope with a highly dominant teammate. Should a seat open up at Red Bull Racing, Brundle would place Lawson in that set with ease. While Lawson is the best candidate for the seat in Brundle's eyes, the pundit notes there are several other drivers who have been rumored to be in contention for a Red Bull drive. He just doesn't think they're as likely. You would say that Ricciardo's head is in the right place to actually not be battered again by Max, Brundle said. But I think that's happened to Sergio, and his head should be in the right place as well. And as Rachel Brooks said, we sense Daniel's under pressure for his own seat, let alone being rewarded by moving up to the top team. Red Bull's Formula 2 drivers aren't quite prepared to make the leap in Brundle's eyes, which means there's just one candidate left to address, Carlos Sainz Jr. Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen have been teammates before back in their Toro Rosso days, and Brundle argues that that experience alone should explain why a Sainz-Verstappen pairing would be challenging in the future. I think the problem they've got with the Sainz's, father and son, and the Verstappen's, father and son, is that it wasn't a happy setup back when they were Toro Rosso teammates, Brundle said. I think Red Bull are struggling to cope with one father at the moment, let alone two. Brundle is, of course, referring to Jos Verstappen's ongoing butting of heads with Red Bull team boss Christian Horner. The thought of Sainz hanging around without a drive, he would presumably hope to still get the Mercedes seat, Brundle mused. Now, though, there's just one problem. But then Antonelli wins a race at the weekend in Formula 2 and changes the dynamic of that as well. It's literally day by day at the moment. It's a head-scratcher for Red Bull, and that explains to you why they signed Sergio Perez. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one.